A new report is revealing how Americans are feeling about their communities and the country heading into Election Day. It found 76% of Americans are hopeful for the future of their communities, and that number includes 78% of working class Americans. When it comes to the long-term future of the United States, that number dips to 55% for the country and 47% among working class Americans. Let's bring in Dante Chinni, director of the American Communities Project based at Michigan State University. His organization has a new report titled, quote, Understanding America in 2024, which sounds a lot harder than perhaps the report undertook.
It is. America's a difficult place. It's complicated, and that's kind of what we get at.
Let's start with the optimistic things. Why are people feeling hopeful? What are the good things they're seeing?
So the reason people feel hopeful is they feel kind of good about their lives, as you were saying in the intro, and it's really because they think their life's going well. Like you just asked them, yeah, my life's going pretty well. Some places they have their faith gives them a lot of hope for the future and things like that. The one thing that was a little disappointing is we asked people just whether or not they're optimistic, something to feel good about. Are people generally good? Most people do not think that. The one exception was Mormon communities, where people did think people are generally good. But for the most part, the thing that makes people feel good about where they are and where things are going is their personal lives and where their community's at.
Does that seem inconsistent with this anti-incumbent sentiment that's indicated in President Biden's approval ratings and the polls?
Yeah, so it's interesting because, if people think their lives are going well, it is because we think that's what politics is, right? It's a reflection of how's my life going compared to how it was going? Should it be going a different way? These data suggest that people feel pretty good about themselves. The thing they don't feel good about is the country. And when it comes to the direction of the country, the thing that really showed was overwhelmingly across all the community types we look at, there was a sentiment of this terrible statement. It's just like, I feel the nation is falling apart. Every community we talked to felt that, with one exception. The big cities did not feel that, but every other community, 50% or more, said it seems like the nation's falling apart.
It seems consistent with that old bromide of love your congressman, hate Congress, where you like your hometown operation, you don't like the rest of the nation. Let's talk about the fears. Where are people most concerned?
So I think the thing they're most concerned about is they don't feel that, most people say, or lots of people say when you ask them, I don't recognize what the country has become, or I don't recognize what the country has become, they feel that way. More than 50% feel that way in a lot of different communities. I think the thing they're really worried about is many people feel, their leaders can't make the right decisions. They feel that, again, the country seems like, and again, it's just this vague feeling that the country's kind of falling apart, things are slipping away.
That feels especially true, according to your research, with the evangelical community. That things are changing too quickly. What's behind that?
So they were really interesting because we had these two questions about, I don't recognize what the country has become, and I think the country is changing too quickly. They were the one community that gave over 60% to both those questions.
Both?
Yeah. So that says, because a lot of people say, or a lot of different communities, people will say, I don't recognize the country. I don't identify what the country's become. But this idea that we don't like the way things are moving. With these evangelical communities, it's like we don't like the way things are, and change is just overwhelming us. It does feel like those places, and we've studied them for a little bit, they really are apart. They're a place apart from other parts of the country where I think the social conservatism, the culture in those places doesn't really align with what they see when they turn on the TV. And when they turn on the news.
What did you find when you asked about immigration, which we were told by so many players is a top issue, a top line issue?
So the one thing we found this year, because it's the second year we've done the survey, immigration rose as a top issue across the board in every one of these communities.
All of them?
Yes. That's pretty interesting. The thing that we found that was really kind of interesting and a little disconcerting in some ways, there are about 46 million immigrants in America, about 46 million. And very few people say that there is an immigrant that is part of their immediate social circle, that is somebody that's close, member of family, obviously, or friends. You're not getting, that number is down in the 30s for some communities, in the 20s for some communities. And I think that reflects something else we found in the study, which is we asked people true-false statements. We're going to reveal those later, but we revealed one in the survey, which is, we said undocumented immigrants, true or false, undocumented immigrants commit more violent crime than other people. That is not true. It is a false statement. Almost every community believes that to be true. The places where they didn't are the places where people were most likely to get the correct answer, which is again false, that's not true. Big cities, urban suburbs and Hispanic centers, places where people are most likely to know an immigrant. So it seems in the research, the more likely you are to just know any immigrant, the more likely you are to kind of be inoculated against this thing, which is falsehood.
Also consistent with areas with higher education levels where people
Absolutely,
do some reading.
except for the Hispanic centers where it's a little different. Not a lot of college degrees in those places, but a lot of people who are Hispanic, so a lot of people that are immigrants and people know people.
Dante Chinni, good work on this. Thanks for sharing with us.
Thank you.
Good seeing you again.
Yeah.